Let's call this December 9th, 2025 Essex County Board of Supervisors work session to order. April, you do roll call, please.
Chairman Akers.
Present.
Vice Chairman Gill.
Present.
Supervisor Johnson.
Here.
Supervisor Magruder.
Here.
Supervisor Smith.
Present.
Thank you, gentlemen. You have a quorum.
Excellent. First up, we have an audit update. Nita? Let's call this December 9th, 2025 Essex County Board of Supervisors work session to order. Roll call.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I'd like to provide an update on the FY25 audit. I spoke with our partners at UHY and Clearpoint yesterday, and all parties agreed that with the information they now have in hand, that we are on track with the schedule they previously provided to continue working on our statements and hopefully deliver with the parameters that they had previously discussed. We have one outstanding item that we learned of that we're partnering with the schools to complete that was not previously done. So.
And that was the
Annual school report.
and wasn't there something else about some previous benefits or leaves?
I completed the compensated absences, which was GASP 101 that they had requested. So that's done. The only thing still outstanding is the school report.
Perfect. And gentlemen, some of the things that UHY has asked for, it just wasn't available because it hadn't been done in the past.
Yes.
And so they have been a lot more comprehensive with what they've requested. Also had a meeting with UHY yesterday afternoon to go over the status and looking at having our results, preliminary results, in January. Any other questions?
I did see in the regular session report from the centralized services. I think you had part in writing that report.
I don't recall which report that is, but no, I don't believe I did.
Okay. Well, it's in the BoardDocs package, but it said in there that you were centralized services were working with the accountants, and it mentioned the benefits, and it mentioned that some of the pay issues. So, but you said you had a meeting yesterday, Monday?
With UHY and
UHY,
yes.
Okay, so, and any issues that were in that report in the regular session package, you're on top of that?
I am aware of those, and we're working to, they're not necessarily, didn't necessarily occur in FY25, but we're working to get everything reconciled appropriately as soon as we possibly can. That's all the FY26 information.
So what is the estimated time frame now of getting the report?
Of which report?
The final audit.
They're looking at the end of March for that.
We should get preliminaries in January. There is a chance, depending on what happens as part of the forensic audit, that could be delayed, and they may just have to issue a preliminary case or issue a final because of certain approvals and other things.
But that would that delay the issuance of the final report in March?
It could.
Okay.
It could just be noted.
Right. Okay.
So,
In your opening statement, I thought I heard you say there was certain information that you weren't able to retrieve because the reports weren't done. How far back does that go?
The Clearpoint requested some information that dated back to fiscal year 23, 24, and 25. So it was just going back historically that they did not have the information to draw on and wanted a longer period. So it took us longer to pull that report for them.
But beyond 23, the information wasn't available?
They only went back to that. I believe it was 23.
So to answer my question, you don't know. In other words, back to 23, the information was not available.
They didn't, to my knowledge, they didn't ask for anything prior to that.
Okay, so
Everything that they asked for, we were able to get them. The information was available. It just took longer because it was so much more historical. It wasn't just last year.
and they didn't have that historical data already, so they didn't request it in previous years as they did this year for those historical numbers. So Clearpoint didn't have it.
Okay. Now, the information you're looking for, was that information required in the previous years?
It was, I think they just didn't have a historical basis for it, or it wasn't in their, these accountants' opinion, a full picture. It's based on leave balances. This one particular report was based on leave balances so that they could calculate what would be owed if somebody left. And so they did not have full the reports that they sent me, because I asked them, can you provide what it is that you received? So I know what you're looking for that's different, and it was incomplete. It didn't have everyone listed. It was maybe, 20, 30 employees out of the many more employees there are at the schools. So they were just looking for a more comprehensive historical picture. So in essence, normally you would do this report based on FY25, and I did this for FY23, 24, 25.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So there's a possibility that the information, that same discrepancy goes back even further.
True.
Yeah, there's a possibility. But this report was just, I was providing them, these were the employees at the time, these were their leave balances, this is what their accruals were each year, this is what their leave balance was at the end of that fiscal year, this is what it was when they started the next fiscal year. So it just kind of builds, and then the basis of this is their salary at the end of fiscal year 25, breaking down to their hourly rate, which would equate to whatever those hours were that they could have gotten paid out for.
Yeah, we don't know the gravity of the,
Severity of the problem.
of whether there were actual issues or not until the audit report.
Right.
So this is just providing data, and years past, that data hasn't been requested to go into this report. But we know that there are leave balance issues that have happened at the school, and that's something they've been looking at. And I know that you guys have been cleaning up a lot of some of those issues.
We've been, yes.
So chances are it goes back many, many years. But to what degree, we just don't know.
I would add that when you change audit firms, that we've done like this, you have nuances that come up, with tracking and so forth.
Okay, now, to what degree will the audit reveal to us the concerns? Will it all reveal back to 2023 or 2022?
I'm not sure what, they only asked me for the people who left in 25 to identify those and provide their historical information. The people that are still here that either began before or after, it did not include all that information for them.
Your audit report should only have 25. They'll use the basis of previous years to show a trend of something that might be problematic that needs to be fixed. But they won't get into the details of what those are in previous years. It's just going to report 25.
Okay, I was under the impression that the forensic audit would go into.
Forensic audit's different. This is the regular one that we're talking about.
This is our normal annual audit.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. So this is the sampling.
All right, I got you.
Yes.
The regular audit is delayed.
You're right.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Right. It's confusing.
Yep, and it's very confusing.
Okay, all right, okay.
Are there any other questions for me?
Not for me, but thank you for all the extra work that you're doing, you
Sure.
and the staff. April, the timeline, once we get the report, I guess we'll have a chance to look at it, the preliminary report, and then go from there. Then, when will the auditor come and actually make a presentation? Would that be March, April, or is that going to be after budget season?
Well, that's going to help run your budget calendar of what your audit season, what your budget season is.
Okay.
We're hoping that we would not go past the end of March. That's why they're working overtime and doubling up on their initiatives of
Okay.
what the priorities are to make sure that they exceed the deadlines, not just meet them.
Is that going to affect the Davenport report? Okay.
No,
Good.
it
Thank you.
will not affect Davenport. We will do that in concert with Davenport.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Rotary Courthouse Park. Woody?
So I'm going to be referencing this report in your package. I provided some written comments as well. Members of the board and county staff, thank you for allowing us to meet with you tonight and provide the latest draft of the Rotary Courthouse Park conceptual development plan. The EDA has worked closely with Parks and Recreation to get it to this point, and now we need your guidance. The underlying theme of this effort is developing sports tourism and outdoor recreation at the park. Based on data from Virginia Tourism, the EDA believes sports tourism has a great deal of potential to strengthen our local economy. We have the land, we have the hotels, we have the restaurants we need to support this concept. We see increased outdoor recreation opportunities for our citizens as a quality of life issue. This report is intended to demonstrate how these goals can be met. Like you, the EDA board members just received printed copies today. So we will also be reviewing it closely in the coming weeks. Our intent tonight is to get it into your hands so that you have time to develop feedback, questions, suggestions, hopefully in time for your January 13th work session. After receiving your guidance, we will coordinate with our consultant to finalize this report, and that will effectively complete the deliverables from TRC regarding this specific contract. Before I introduce Kay Carlton to provide her comments, I ask that you consider two proposed meetings for this coming spring. The EDA asks that the supervisors take the lead in hosting a public information session so that you can share this report with your constituents and get their feedback. We also ask that you allow us to invite potential funders to one of your spring work sessions. The Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation and the Virginia Outdoors Foundation, they administer grant programs that could possibly provide construction money for the park in return for your protecting some areas of the park under a perpetual conservation agreement. After this report is finalized, the EDA will convene an advisory committee of local representatives who have specific knowledge about sports tourism. This committee will analyze the report's guidance on the next steps needed to make the Rotary Poorhouse Park an economic engine for our community and a place for all of us to enjoy outdoor recreation. Now I ask Kay to share her thoughts.
Good evening, Board. Parks and Recreation has looked at this, and we see some areas that we need to tweak some. This is not concrete, okay? We need EMS to comment, fire, rescue, the sheriff's office. We'd like those people to take a look at the report, come up with your guidelines, what you think. And we would also, unfortunately, we would like to see 3 meetings. I've talked to John about this before. At least 2 meetings at night and 1 during the day. I know it's a lot, but this is a big deal, and I feel strong that we need to try to get as many people to give us feedback and recommendations as possible. Kind of would like to see one on the weekend when people aren't working that they could come in and see. But along with the meetings, we will send out surveys through MyRec, and hopefully Chuck can put it on the county website. And for any recommendations that people might not be able to come to the meeting, but they can pull it up online, look at it, and give some feedback that way. We'll also have the big board in our office that people can come in and look at the because it's not as easy to look at on these little things, but it's the big one we have in our office is up to date. So this is an exciting time for Parks and Recreation, and we look forward to a great park plan that our citizens can be proud of. Do you have any questions for us?
A lot of stuff here every year.
It's a lot.
I think in your email, Woody, you had sent to us for us to review this over, come up with any questions or comments. So obviously we get to you beforehand as well, so we can bring this back up and have a discussion in our January meeting.
Absolutely. I think the EDA's got to read it as well. We just got it in printed form today. You guys are going to read it. Talk to our EDA board members. Call me, talk to Kay, Let's figure out what the questions are so that we can come back in January and hopefully be able to put a finishing touch on this. There's no deadline. If we go past it, it's not the end of the world. I'm just trying to keep the project.
I saw one key date in here is June 15th of 2026.
There's a grant application that we could pursue. And that pretty much
Can you
matches
go to the
with-
microphone so that you can get picked up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that June 26th is a grant application. And there are others from DCR that have similar dates in the summer.
If we could potentially get maybe a listing of some of those deadlines of the different grant opportunities, just so we have an idea of what we're working around. So as we
Right.
kind of go into this, just be helpful for us for scheduling as well.
Can do.
Board members, any questions for Woody or Ken?
Not questions, just comments. I will emphasize what Kay said about getting the public input or giving them the opportunity. I hope the rest of the board would support a daytime meeting, evening meetings, possibly that one weekend meeting, whatever. I just think this is that important. And just again to emphasize that this is a conceptual plan, this is not the be-all, end-all. And as in the report, I did print it and read it already, so I was excited, it's going to be in phases. So people have to realize that you're not going to see this done in 365 days. Realistically, folks, you're looking at 10 years, maybe longer, before our full plan gets developed, and there'll be changes along the way and all that. So it's encouraging. We got started here. We got the ball rolling. Let's keep it rolling with as much enthusiasm and that we can do. I would recommend that the EDA send a copy of this to the town manager, as well as their, I'm not sure her title, Jean's title. Just keep them abreast of what's going on out there, because what's happening out here is going to affect the town as well. And we need, their support as well, I'm sure, grants, funding, and things like that. So just to include them as well. And then in the meantime, I think it might be beneficial to also, hopefully, if EMS, fire, etc., can meet that same deadline in January, would be greatly appreciated. Again, just to keep things moving along, so we can meet some of these great deadlines.
I would also add that we appreciate the collaboration that EDA and Parks and Rec have worked on with this project and the consultant engineer. It looks like a good conceptual plan, and as John said, it's a long time in the making. But yeah, it's exciting. It's a big investment.
It is exciting.
But there's a lot of land out there that we can certainly work on and develop. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we sing now?
You don't have to say.
Question for you, Kay. Now, this is in conjunction with working with the town with that $1 million
No, no, sir.
We talked about it right
raise grant.
No, no, sir.
Because then why are we not taking advantage of that raise grant?
Why are we not taking advantage of the raise grant? Well, that's the waterfront, and John, who's on the committee for the raise grant? Help me out here, because
Let's address it this way.
yeah.
From the standpoint, the RAISE grant was a joint grant submitted by the town and the county. The town is taking the lead in that. This is about waterfront access and all. It
Right.
really doesn't have a lot to do with the park here, other than there was one part of it where the RAISE grant would look at the Rotary Poorhouse Park for possible waterfront development, i.e. pond, lake, whatever. So, they were really two different separate issues.
Right.
And we'll probably do an extension on that raise grant, the way I understand it.
That was in our report.
Right.
And you may be able to utilize some of the funding that we've had TRC do with once some of that money becomes available, you may be able to offset some of these costs what we pay TRC, which won't know until we get it. But it's strictly a planning grant, is all that was.
Well, I was under the understanding that that planning grant was designed to force the county and the town to work together. So back to my original question.
That was correct, that was the intent.
That was the intent.
That was the intent, you are correct.
And then what happened to that?
Well, that raised grant has got some transportation funding tied to that, so if this gets off the ground, then I think we could still utilize
Use it.
pieces of that grant.
Probably. Yeah.
The town is the sole manager of that grant project.
That I understand. Yeah, that I understand, but I'm not understanding why we not fully using the resources there to help develop what we want to do here. And that grant was designed to force the town and the county to work cohesively to design, come up with that quality, improved quality of life for the citizens of Essex County.
Well, I will look into it some more and see what we can come up with. How about that? Especially like you said, the transportation part. Get some funding for the roads and things like that. But we'll get that. I'll get an answer back with you. Hopefully there is some way we can. Okay.
But the raise grant is not
Yeah,
going to
it's not-
diminish
it's not.
this in
No,
any way,
right.
shape, or form. This is
No.
kind of stands on its own separate.
Correct.
It would only enhance it, I think.
Yeah, it could only enhance it. So, looking forward to sending questions, getting questions answered, and looking forward to TRC is then going to come and make a presentation to us, hopefully in January, but whenever. That'll be good to have them on site as well. But they'll have the questions already ahead of time, or as many as we can get. Great, thank you for all this. This is awesome. Good work.
Thank you, guys. Next, the MPAA municipal dredging. John, I'll turn that over to you.
Yes. The Middle Peninsula Public Access Authority has spent a lot of time studying the issue of dredging because some of our other counties, especially Middlesex County, Lancaster, Northumberland, Gloucester, where they have lots of creek access, etc. The Corps of Engineers is no longer taking care of these creeks and dredging them as they've done in the past. They're also giving up on the markers out in these creeks and stuff for navigation. They've given up on maintenance in them and all. And through a lot of research through the Middle Peninsula Planning District, they discovered that for every foot of water that you have on a creek, it can affect the real estate property values by 14%. So if you lose a foot because of sediment, then the value of those houses, because you've lost the access to the boating, and that's really what drives the price of these houses and stuff, they're beginning to lose revenue as a source for them. So it has become a big problem for the lower end of our Middle Peninsula. But however, Essex County has somewhat similar situations. We have Tickner's Creek right here in town at June Parker's Marina, for example. There's a sediment problem there. You could look at creeks like Mount Landing Creek, Hoskins Creek, and Piscataway Creek as other examples. That over time, this is going to become more and more a problem for all the districts. And ironically, I think one of the few creeks that are still maintained by the Corps of Engineers is Hoskins Creek, at least until you get to the granary there at Purdue. So, and with that, and because they have maintained it for many, many years, we also have a disposal site, which is near the hospital, that they have used for years to pump any of the sediment that has gotten in the creek and that. So what's interesting with also what the Public Access Authority or the Middle Peninsula Planning District discovered was that a lot of this dredge material has secondary uses. They are developing businesses right now. I think there are 45 businesses that are now listed, either that are interested in what they call Flight to Flood program, which then can utilize this dredge material to keep erosion from happening or keep water levels from rising, or even as far as there are several companies that are looking at this material to make concrete or other products out of it. So it would actually bring employment for a material that we have to dispose of. So, but we have a disposal site in the county, which may be something that could be utilized for storing the material until it's ready to be processed in some way, shape, or form. So with that background information, you had two bits of information in your packet. One was what the program is all about, and the second is municipal dredging operating agreement. And what the Middle Peninsula Planning District or Public Access Authority needs to know, do we want to participate in this authority of dredging? If you read this carefully, in this information, the Middle Peninsula Planning District was able to get a $7.5 million grant to help kick this program off. And they will want to utilize that to run the program. So right now, this would not cost the county anything to participate. They would use the grant money for administrative purposes, as well as giving grants to those creeks that have the most need, and dispersing that $7.5 million that they have available this year. Off the top of my head, I don't remember how much they have for next year, but it's a 2-year grant. So just need the board to think about, and during our regular session, that just to get maybe a straw vote or something, or we can do a straw vote now, do we want to participate in this program? Do we want to have a seat at the table? I, for one, think it's very beneficial to have a seat at the table because we do have need in this county and community, or we'll have future need for this type of program. But the cost to get dredging done on the private side versus developing a municipal dredging operation was millions of dollars difference. Doing it this way, getting the machinery to do this and doing this and rotating around with all the creeks and everything for the bang for the buck, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but if you need them, I'll be glad to get them. Just it's very, very enticing for a municipal dredging program versus individual counties having to come up with the funds to do this. So, with that, I'll stop talking and let you all, if you have any questions on the information that you read.
I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned taking the spoils, the dredge material, and using it for other purposes, and I have read about that too. What types of opportunities are in that sector? That stuff will have to be processed in some way. Would Essex be a candidate to have some sort of plant or something? I'm just talking out loud here. I don't know what opportunities are out there.
I would think with our location of our current spoil site, we have a very good chance of that happening. Because they need, that's the biggest issue that they have, is not getting the dredging done, where to put the material and do it in a manner that's cost effective. So yeah, there's that possibility. It's a strong possibility. Now the only issue is they have to analyze the material. Some material doesn't have use currently, and others have. If it's a lot of sand material, it has a very high use. And it just depends on what creek they're dredging. Some creeks will have great material and some creeks will be worthless, but they need a site to take it to. But then again, over time, somebody might develop a use for that material. You never know.
They're already doing some things with making concrete out of dredge materials and others, so I've got a feeling more will come.
Yeah.
Just get the kickstart here. But again, like I said, currently, there's no cost to get involved in this. It's just a seat at the table. The cost will be incurred once they do projects in your county. May or may not. If there's enough grant money to cover it all, there'd be no cost. So we just don't know.
Do you know if the other localities in the Middle Peninsula have also signed on to this?
No, I think they're doing the same thing that we're doing, hopefully. So this is pretty recent stuff. There's an upcoming meeting on the 19th. We'll get more information then.
They said this thing would kick off on July 1, 26. And also the towns would also participate. So Tappahannock would be apprised of the same information.
We hope they would participate just as much. Sure. They have vested interest with their new waterfront down there on Hoskins Creek. And for that matter, I don't know if there'd be any, even on the riverfront property there. There might be some need for dredging for, whatever plans that they have for there, I don't know. Yeah, they are invited as well. They are part of the Middle Peninsula Planning District. Kay represents very well on that, so.
And I think without, we don't have to approve this agreement tonight. I think
No.
All we're really looking for is an interest to participate, which myself, I'm certainly interested in having a seat at the table. I know Max has reviewed initially this agreement, has some comments regarding that, and that would all be fleshed out as we move forward. I think just getting the board willing to say, yeah, we want to participate and see where this plays out is the main thing we're looking for tonight.
I certainly agree with that.
But this is something they've been discussing at the PDC meetings, Bud and I and Kay know for many months now, and now it's come to this point, which is good.
We'll add that one good thing about this project is Louis Lawrence is going to be the head of the whole operation. And I've been on PDC for about 22 years, and Louis handles every project like it's gold. And this one he is really strongly behind. He's no longer the chairman of the director of the PDC, but he's taking over the MPA. And the dredging is his baby. He just wants to make sure he gets it. And he's even looking to buy our own dredging machine. If he gets the money and he can go to Richmond and get it, he'll get it. That's just one more positive that you can look at. The guy who's going to run the program is fully capable.
That's really important. It is a big thing.
Question for you, John. On page 2,
Are we looking at the operating agreement or the operating program sheet?
Operating agreement. On page 2, where you're talking about the shovel-ready shallow draft dredging, environmental studies have been conducted to determine the adverse environmental impacts. Do we have that information?
That's going to be creek by creek, Sydney. So for the counties that are getting shovel-ready and all, that's what they're doing. So we don't have anything in Essex because we're not at that point yet. We haven't identified our needs yet to get to the point where we'll get to that shovel-ready situation. But those determinations, the identifying, doing those environmental studies and all that will be done on all the creeks. So,
I was under the impression that that study has already been done. Okay, all right. Environmental studies have been conducted.
For the creeks that they are presently working with. There's not down around, Tigger Creek is on the list. It's way down at the bottom of the list because of the report. Now, they have been studied.
I think what it's saying, Sydney, is that in order to be eligible for this grant and this program, yes, that study has to be completed. So none of this can occur until July 1st, 2026. So, yeah, it says here, it have been completed. In order to participate, it has to be completed. That is correct. It's not saying that that individual creek's study has been done. It's saying that if you want to participate in it, you will have one of these studies done.
I might be able to provide a little bit of clarification.
Please do.
Just on the sort of legislative history, is that in the budget bill, that language of shovel-ready shallow draft dredging projects is what comes from the legislation. And this operating agreement is supposed to put some detail behind what would qualify for the grant funding appropriated by the general assembly. So although they haven't been completed yet, those are the eligibility criteria to qualify for the funding of the state program.
That helps a lot.
In other words, you can't participate in this unless you have an environmental and engineering study done. That's what it says.
Join into the program.
Correct.
And you'd want it done.
The other thing is just to point out, on that same page, is that the county or the member or county that participates, county participates, we'll appoint one person who shall be a member of this governing body. So as they review projects and things like that, we'll have representation to go through that. So that is one thing that we will have to do as a participating member in this. So. And yes, Max, your comments will be forwarded along program. So thank you for that.
So that governing body, would that be the member of the PAA? Well, we also are members of the public access.
It would be a separate
So
authority.
it would be a sub-authority of the PAA, yes.
I'm looking at the operating program, under definition where C, non-participating jurisdictions.
Yep.
And then I go over to the agreement, and I look at the definition. I'm getting, let me read both. Under the program, non-participating jurisdiction, counties and towns in the Middle Peninsula which may choose not to participate. Counties and towns in the Middle Peninsula which may choose not to participate in the authority. Now, on the agreement, counties, towns, or authorities which may choose to participate later are identified as non-participating jurisdiction. I'm not understanding that.
It's allowing other jurisdictions to reserve the right to participate at a later time. Again, I don't want us to get too held up on the language in these, because these are just draft documents
We'll work it out.
that have to be reviewed and walked through. It's a matter of whether we have an interest as a collective body that we want to have a seat at the table and work toward this authority.
Just a couple other quick things to point out that as a member of the jurisdictions, any contributions to this program or whatever are subject to the annual appropriation. So through our budget process, this will come up for vote. Do we want to put in the money for this project or that project or whatever? And it's going to be specifically dealing with Essex County. We're not going to be funding, Gloucester County projects. That's not what this is saying. But if we have a project in our county and it's going to take some contributions at that time, the Board of Supervisors at that time, whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now, they will determine if they're going to put the money into that program. And if they don't, then that project won't be dredged in your county, they'll move to another county. Because sometimes these grants may be something you have to match, maybe not. So you might get that situation.
Kind of pay to play.
Might. It depends on how much funding they get.
Now, look at item 5. The withdrawal of membership under the municipal dredging operating program. Any member jurisdiction may withdraw from membership in the municipal dredging operating program by resolution or ordinance of its governing body. Notice will be given and effective at the beginning of the next fiscal year. The withdrawing member jurisdiction shall meet all financial obligations, for dredging projects included in the annual municipal dredging operating program. However, no member jurisdiction shall be permitted to withdraw from the municipal dredging operating program until all financial obligations have been honored. except by unanimous vote of all members in the jurisdiction. So that tells us we do have a responsibility in terms of, if you're part of it, that's how I read that.
When the authority decides which dredging projects get done, okay, that's going to then trigger for that county if they need to put county funds into that. So what this allows us to do is to, if we wanted to not participate in the program anymore, we can back out. But it also says that if they have approved, the county has approved the project in hand and all, that in the middle of the project they can't back out and stick the authority with the cost. That's what that paragraph really means. So the only financial obligation will be after the vote of the Board of Supervisors for that project in that county.
I need your take on that, Max.
I think Supervisor Magruder's summary is correct. There are, those agreements would likely still be subject to appropriation if the priority list of projects were approved and the county at that moment decided it was, it's participating, it is in agreement with the priority list, and it chooses, because local funding is required, to locally fund. After that action has already taken place, it's unlikely that there would be an action of non-appropriation from the locality in order to have its projects on the priority list funded with the grant funding in addition to any local funds that are required. So any commitment pre-appropriation would still be subject to appropriation. But once that commitment is made and the money is appropriated and dispersed, you can't really undo it. And I think that the intent of the language of the operating agreement is to say, when the authority has put the priority list together and the locality is required to commit local funds, and it does commit local funds, we're not giving those funds back once the projects have started.
Okay. So in other words, each jurisdiction of the membership jurisdiction is only responsible for its particular area. Like for us, it would be the Rappahannock River, Mount Allen Creek, you know, not anything in Middlesex, or not anything in Gloucester, not anything in Lancaster, not anything in Matthew.
I would expect that those discussions are about the priority of use of the grant funds in total, but not the commitment of local funds.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Can we do a quick straw vote that any objection to not participating in this at this time? Again, we have the right to back out. It's just right now, just, are we good?
Yeah, we have no commitment right now
Not at all.
outside of saying that we're interested in participating.
Pursuing and participating?
I'm in agreement.
Good with me.
I'm in agreement.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, having no other items on our work session, let's somebody read us into closed session.
I move that Essex County Board of Supervisors convene and close meeting pursuant to Code of Virginia, Section 2.23711A1 for discussion, assignment, and appointment of appointees to the Middle Peninsula Chesapeake Bay Public Access Authority, Middle Peninsula Planning District Commission, and the CPMT, and pursuant to Section 2.23711A7 for consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, and pursuant to Section 2.23711A8 for consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by public body regarding specific legal matters requiring that the provision of legal advice by such counsel relating to demands, agreements, and real estate transactions. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, closed session. Get a motion to return to open session.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we do a roll call, please?
Chairman Akers.
Present.
Vice Chairman Gill.
Present.
Supervisor Johnson.
Here.
Supervisor McGruder.
Present.
Supervisor Smith.
Present.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Any compliance certification?
Whereas the Essex County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed session on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote, and in accordance with the provision of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2, 3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the board that such closed session was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, there be it resolved that the board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters were lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the requirement of Virginia law were discussed in closed session to which this certification resolution applies. And 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session was convened, was heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the board.
Any member who believes that there was a departure from the requirements of clauses 1 and 2 shall state the substance of the departure that in his judgment has taken place. Hearing none, can we certify the board, please?
Chairman Akers.
I certify.
Vice Chairman Gill.
I certify.
Supervisor Johnson.
I certify.
Supervisor McGruder.
I certify.
Supervisor Smith.
I certify.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Having no additional agenda items for our work session, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reconvene in 15 minutes.